Yeah. Ha! I'm back.
King Real.
Hip hop, nutrition, this is hip hop. Hip hop, it's nutritious, this is hip hop. It's for your soul, it's the vision, this is hip hop. I pray all of us keep living. Just like you need all the minerals and vitamins too. You need hip hop, it's a nutrient feeding your soul. Together they are a force and we need them like food. So open up wide, take all this lyrical dope. And mental illness is an issue, I speak on the truth. Look on the streets of any city, you find you a few. America's epidemic, locking them in prison ain't a cure for the demons they be fighting when they was living. The answer is holistic, herbs and tonics, natural remedies, honest. What you eat is your problem. Need the veggies and the fish, grass-fed meat. Need the water in your body. Stay away from the ramen and all the sugars in the processed foods. You are what you eat, and your stomach is a tool. Your food is your medicine, and man, this is true. Hippocrates said it best, and it's been proved. Yeah, this is hip-hop, nutrition, this is hip-hop. Hip-hop, it's nutritious, this is hip-hop. It's for your soul, that's the vision, this is hip-hop. I pray all of us keep living, this is hip-hop. Hip-hop, nutrition, this is hip-hop. Hip-hop, it's nutritious, this is hip-hop. It's for your soul, it's the vision, this is hip-hop. I pray all of us keep living,
Hip hop nutrition. I know it's been a minute. I apologize. A lot of stuff has been going on. So I went back active duty. So I'm back active duty for the next few years. Moved from Colorado to Texas. Got stationed out here. Won't say where because I don't want internet weirdos trying to follow me or whatever. All kind of stuff. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed about a month prior to me moving here. She lived to be 106, but the grieving process is still the same. So I had to take some time to grieve. But so a lot of stuff has went on. So my apologies to you all for taking so long, but we're gonna get to it. This episode is way different than any other episode I've ever done because I feel that the state that the world is in right now, the state of emergency that the world is in right now, I think it needs to be said because everything's unpredictable. And in particular, what I'm talking about today is the Russia-Ukraine war. So we're going to get into it. So like I said, I did move to a new place. So you notice my beautiful green screen background here. I rented out my house in Denver and, I'm in a new place here in Texas. So I had to make adjustments. I had to adjust fire, as we say in the Army. So getting into the Russia-Ukraine conflict, I know most of you might know about it, but if you don't, here's a quick synopsis. So Russia invaded Ukraine, and they are currently at war. Russia invaded Ukraine saying that it is due to them having Nazis, and they're trying to eradicate all the Nazis in Ukraine, which is crazy because a lot of Ukrainians are actually Jewish, and actually our ancestors, or their ancestors were actually in World War II Nazi prison camps and murdered by Hitler and his Nazi regime. So for Putin to make that as an excuse to invade Ukraine makes no sense. But Ukraine wants to join NATO. Putin says no. Putin's a bully. There you go. So the crazy thing about Russia is that they have known nuclear weapons, hundreds of known nuclear weapons. And you see how unpredictable Putin is as of now. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. You saw how he just one day just invaded Ukraine. You know what I'm saying? For the second time. He did it back in 2014. So he's very unpredictable. He has warned, saying he will use nukes or, you know what I'm saying? So he's very unpredictable. So then some of you might be thinking, well, what does that have to do with America? Like Russia's way out there. No, sir or ma'am. Russia is actually down the street from America. A lot of people don't know that. Russia, here's a quick map. And Russia is very close to Alaska. So if Russia was going to fire nukes, they could easily fire into anywhere in the mainland in America. All right, so that's why I chose to do this subject, which is what to do in case of a nuclear fallout. So if a nuclear bomb goes off, you as a civilian, what you can do to prolong your life, or to even to help others prolong their lives. Now it's very unpredictable. Like, it depends on where you're at, where the nuke lands. You know, if you're in the impact zone, if you're, you know what I'm saying, that all depends on if you will survive. But if you're if you're lucky enough and you're far enough away, then there is a chance that you could survive a nuclear fallout. So let's get to it. All right, y'all. So Russia has been known to possess, or does possess, 3 weapons of mass destruction, which are nuclear weapons, biological weapons, or chemical weapons, or all 3. Who knows? The distance, going back to the distance of Russia from America, the narrowest distance between mainland Russia and mainland Alaska is approximately 55 miles. So that puts it into perspective for you. I mean, they're super close. You know what I'm saying? Between Russia and Alaska are 2 small islands, the big Diomede and the little Diomede. I hope I said that right, but you guys know how I am with those kind of words. Russia owns big Diomede and U.S. owns the little one. All right, so like I said, they're right down the street from us. All right, so now we're gonna break down a nuclear, chemical, and a biological weapon. What is a nuclear weapon? Nuclear weapon is a device that uses a nuclear reaction to create an explosion. Nuclear explosion may occur with or without a few minutes warning. All right, so that's how quick this will happen. You know, if it does happen, God forbid this happens, but at least you'll be prepared. So it can happen in an instant. You know what I'm saying? You could be on your commute to work. You could be at home chilling. You could be in a pool fishing, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just that quick. Bam! It just happens. Now, I've never experienced a nuclear weapon in person, but you know, I have been in combat, and I know how quick it is when you run over an IED. It's just chow, just that quick. You know what I'm saying? You never see it coming, and then it's there. So I can understand that. So a large proportion of the energy in a nuclear explosion is emitted in the form of light and heat, which is referred to as thermal energy. All right, so now we're gonna break down thermal energy. All right, so thermal energy, like I said, is emitted when the explosion happens. Thermal energy is capable of causing skin burns and of starting fires at considerable distances away from the impact zone. Just to put it into perspective, if a 1 megaton nuclear bomb exploded, which is 80 times larger than the bomb detonated at Hiroshima, people up to 13 miles away would experience flash blindness, on a clear day, 13 miles away. And people up to 53 miles away would be temporarily blinded on a clear night. Mild first degree burns can occur up to 7 miles away from the impact zone, and 3rd degree burns for those 5 miles away. So you see, a nuclear bomb is no joke, you know? I know a lot of you say like, oh, well, if it went off and let's say you fired it into Alaska, I'm in New York, you know what I'm saying? But we're gonna get further into that, but it affects the whole, it will affect the whole world, but I guarantee you, mainland America, all states will feel some type of pain. Not necessarily dying right away, but as you know, like radiation causes cancer, and radiation travels, and the radiation particles will travel over time, and there you go, you know. So going back to that, nuclear radiation can travel more than 30 miles after detonation. That's just initially. So we're looking at weather, wind, over time, it could be everywhere. You know, so it like I said, it affects everybody. I don't care if you're in New York and it goes off in Alaska. Eventually, everybody will be feeling that pain. All right, so now we're going to look at biological weapons. Biological warfare is also known as germ warfare. It is the use of biological toxins or infectious agents such as bacteria, viruses, insects, and fungi with the intent to kill. That sounds crazy, but once again, Putin can have something like that. So now we're going to look at chemical weapons. Chemical weapons include nerve gas, tear gas, and pepper spray. That's just some of them. Chemical weapons were used in World War I, the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, and more recently by the Syrian government against rebel forces. Now here's a picture or two. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of what was happening in Syria, but I'm not going to show the video on here, but there's videos of kids barely holding on, having trouble breathing because it affects respiratory, and that was just a horrible conflict. And I believe nerve gas was used on them, and nerve gas essentially just shuts off your nervous system, and then there's nothing you can do. You end up dying from it. So, my heart goes out to all the Syrians that were affected by that, or anybody that was affected by chemical weapons. My heart goes out to you, and I pray that doesn't happen here in America. So Russia says it destroyed the last of its chemical weapon stocks in 2017. But since there have been at least 2 chemical attacks blamed on Russia, is that really true, or is that, what I'm saying? Or are they just saying that? So, like I said, Putin's unpredictable. I think he is a habitual liar. Obviously, he's calling Ukrainians Nazis, you know what I'm saying? So, obviously, he fabricates stories, all kind of stuff. So, I don't believe that. I think he still probably holds on to that. All right, so now let's look at signs of chemical attacks. Once a chemical bomb goes off, what are the signs? So, signs of chemical attacks would include difficulty breathing, which we saw, we saw that in the Syrian videos that went across the world. It was just heartbreaking seeing the aftermath of that. So difficulty breathing, eye irritation, loss of coordination, nausea or burning in the nose, throat, and lungs, and also throwing up. All right, so that is chemical weapons and that is biological weapons. All right, so now we're going to look at things to do before a nuclear attack. So things you should be doing right now. Like I said, I pray this nuclear attack never happens, but you got to be prepared for the worst, hope for the best, right? So while commuting, so while you're driving home, driving to work, driving to your booze house, wherever you drive on a weekly basis or daily basis, even to the gym, whatever, start identifying appropriate shelters to seek in the event of a detonation, all right? So outdoor areas, vehicles, mobile homes do not provide adequate shelter because those are unstable environments and it doesn't give you proper overhead shelter or and things like that. So what you should be looking for is basements or the center of a large multi-story building. So if you see a tall building on your commute that you believe or that has like a basement or undercar garage, something like that you can get to, even if you gotta break a window, because when shit hits the fan, you gotta do what you gotta do. But a place that you can get to, identify that area, and just make a mental note that this is where I'm gonna go. If this happens while I'm on my commute. All right. Now this is the most important. What you should be doing, everybody should be doing this right now. And unfortunately, I didn't start doing this until about a year ago. It's sad to say, me being a soldier and all that, but one thing that I lacked having until recently was an emergency supply kit. Or like the military calls it a bug out bag. So now I have a complete bug out bag, but I don't know why I went so many years without having that. That's crazy that I did that. So make sure you have an emergency supply kit for places you frequent and might have to stay for over 24 hours. So emergency supply kit or bug, and we're going to cover what's inside of that, all right? But emergency supply kit or bug out bag, like I keep mine in my car because I spend a lot of time in my car, like commuting. And even the places I go, if I got to run out to the car real quick, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? Get my bag and take off. It's a smaller rucksack, It has everything I need in it, and I keep it that way. So if I ever have to bug out meaning detonation goes off, attack happens, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I grab my bag and I can't use my vehicle, you know, for whatever reason. I grab my bag and I go. So that's what an emergency supply kit or bug out bag should be. So what you should have ideally is a emergency supply kit in places you frequent. So your car, your house, even your job if you could get away with it, like having it off in a corner or something like that. Maybe have a small one at your job. You don't have to get the whole 9, but yeah, like I said, for me, I just have one in my car because I know like how I work, and I could easily just run out to my car if I have to. So these are things that your emergency supply kit should include. It should include bottled water. All right, so I went on Amazon and I found canned water. And the particular canned water I found is good for 50 years. All right, so the problem with bottled water, it goes bad after, I think it's like a couple years or something. It goes bad, so it'll behoove you to get canned water if you can. Now the canned water I got is pretty expensive, so I'm not even gonna put it out there. But the brand I got, but I spent for like a 24 pack, I spent like $50. But that's just me, you know what I'm saying? But if you could find purified canned water that you know, on the cheaper scale, or even if you could buy like a couple cans or whatever. Now I'm not talking about flavored seltzer, none of that. I'm talking about regular purified water in a can. That lasts way longer than it does in a bottle. All right, so make sure you have that. Also have packaged non-perishable foods. I'm gonna show a picture of things that are considered non-perishable. So nuts, dry goods like spaghetti, dry spaghetti, rice, things like that are non-perishable. They will last you a long time. All right. A good rule of thumb that I learned is if it has, I believe it's sugar. If it has like sugar in it or things, there's certain ingredients that if food has it in there, it won't last long. It'll last like a year or 2 years or something. But dry goods, those you know, they're all dry. They're good to go. You know what I'm saying? Even ramen noodles, that's good to have as well. All right. Emergency medicine. So any medicines, I say it all the time, I'm not a fan of pharmaceuticals, but some people need medicine. Some people need the pharmaceuticals. So any medicines you're currently on for whatever your ailment is, make sure that you have extra of, if you can, because I know some medicines need to be refrigerated. So if you have extra of some of your medications that you could pack in the bag, then do that as well. Also, battery powered or hand cranked radio. Here's a picture of it. That is good to have so you can listen to the emergency broadcasting network, because if a nuke goes off, there ain't gonna be no your regular scheduled program. All that shit's out the door. It's gonna be emergency broadcast network on your TV, radio, everywhere. All right, because we will be at war. So it's important to have that. Also have a flashlight. I mean, that's self-explanatory why flashlights are important. I would keep a couple flashlights, you know, if I were you. Also, extra batteries. Batteries can be used for a number of things, and you might find something that needs a battery. So I would have like a lot of things use AA. So I would have a lot of AA, and then I would also get like AAA. I would get watch batteries. Just have like a little baggie just with, you know, extra batteries in case. You never know what you're gonna come across, and you never know how long you're gonna have to bug out. So it may be like some you know what I'm saying, it may be a long-term thing where you gotta, you know what I'm saying, you gotta survive out there. All right, so that covers batteries. Now also what is very important is a knife. Make sure you have a good hunting knife. I would have 2 knives. I would have a Gerber. For those who don't know what a Gerber is, it's like a multi-tool that has various tools on it, as well as a small knife. So I would have that, and I would also have a hunting knife. So I have both in my bug out bag. self-explanatory again. Knives, are good for all kind of protection, cutting cord, even if you have to like hunt wild game. If it comes down to us having to, survive on the land, then that's good to have to get the entrails out of game you might have caught, or things of that nature. So that's just very important that you have a knife. And also, if you need to stab somebody up, put the kisu in their neck. You know what I'm saying? So also, another very important thing is 550 cord. So a lot of people don't know what 550 cord is. It's also called parachute cord. It's one of the strongest cords that you could ever, it's one of the strongest cords you could ever buy. It's so strong, I saw a Humvee get towed with it. A Humvee was pulling another Humvee with 550 cord, a whole bunch of 550 cord tied around it. So here's a picture. Like I said, it's very good to have. It's very good to have in your bug out bag, because you never know what you need string for. You know what I'm saying? To tie up a makeshift shelter, for yourself or whatever. It's very good to have cord in there. Now, another important thing to have is a gun. Me personally, I have an M&P 9mm. That's what I have, and that's good for concealed carry. But you know what I'm saying, when you're out there in the wild and you got a bug out, you don't want like a big old. It'll be cool to have an assault rifle on you, but all you need is I would say all you need is a pistol. That's for protection. Even if you got to pop, you got to shoot a rabbit or something like that because you're starving, you got to survive. A gun is always good to have. And when shit hits the fan, especially Armageddon happens, it's going to be I believe it's going to be every man for himself, or her, every woman for herself. It's going to be protecting your family, protecting yourself. And if you don't have a strap on you, then you're already out of there, I would say, because there's so many people in America that have guns. You know what I'm saying? So that's important to have. Another thing that's important to have in your bag is a fire starter kit. Also strike anywhere matches, and also a flint. And here's a picture of it, but it's pretty much a fire starter. So you scrape the flint against the metal, and it makes little flakes that you could put in dry grass or whatever, and then light a match to that, and it starts a fire for you. So that's good to have as well. And last thing that's good to have is a first aid kit with all the essentials in there, all the things that you would need. And here's a picture of that. You can find those on Amazon for cheap, but all those things are important to have in your emergency supply kit. And you can add to it accordingly or take away. You know what I'm saying? Actually, I wouldn't take away nothing I just said. I would pack at least those, and then add to, if you want to add an emergency blanket, if you want to add a poncho, anything like that. If you want to add that, that's cool. Now we're going to look at what to do during an attack. If you're outdoors, take cover behind anything that might offer protection, but at the same time, lie face down to protect exposed skin from heat and debris after the blast. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. If you are in a vehicle, stop and duck down with the vehicle. Now, going off of not touching your eyes, nose, and mouth, because when you do that, it gets in your mucous membranes. The radiation from the blast could get in your mucous membranes and just cause way more damage. And I kind of know what this feels like, because I've been through the gas chamber in the Army many times, basic training. And then my first couple of duty stations after I came in, it was like a yearly thing. We had to go back. They call it the NBC chamber, the Nuclear Biological Chemical Chamber. And what they do, they put tear gas in the middle of the room, and they fill the room up with tear gas. And then you come in there with your mask on, with your NBC mask on. And when you get inside, there's a coordinator that keeps his or her mask on. When you get inside, you take your mask off, and you take a deep breath of all that gas. And it's an exercise, not only to get you used to wearing your mask, but also so when the shit does hit the fan, you won't panic. It should be muscle memory. I got to clear my mask this way. I got to put it on this way. I got to make sure there's no leaks in my mask, you know, such and so forth. But in basic training, I remember the first thing I did when I went through the gas chamber, took my mask off, drill sergeants asked you crazy questions, which I couldn't answer none of them. Like, what's your social? And all that. I'm like coughing. My eyes is running, everything. So then when I exit the gas chamber, my first natural reaction is wipe my eyes, and that just made everything worse because I already had all the chemical on my hands, all my body. So I'm touching my eyes and it's just making everything worse. So that's one thing I learned in basic is you do not want to do that. You want to get to a nearest hose or something that, I mean, in a nuclear attack, everything's going to be contaminated. But if you could somehow find even a bottle of water, because inside of that bottle of water is not contaminated, that you could wash your face down or whatever just to get the stuff off of you, so just caveating off of what it says, do not touch your eyes, your ears. I mean, ears are fine, but eyes, nose, and mouth. All right. And like I said, if you're in a vehicle, stop, duck down within the vehicle, but also do not stay there. After initial blast. Once you duck down and stop, you should wait a few and then look around and see where you're at and see if you could get to a more permanent shelter within the area. All right. So be inside before the radiation fallout arrives. So be inside of shelter before the fallout arrives. After the initial blast, the highest outdoor radiation levels from fallout occur immediately after the fallout arrives and then decrease with time. So there's initial blast that takes place, and then radiation fallout comes later after that. So you have some time to go seek a more permanent shelter, but you don't have a lot of time, but you have some time. And I'm just estimating because you don't know the size of the bomb, area, wind, all that stuff. But I would estimate that you have at least a few hours before the fallout arrives. It depends on, like I said, it depends on where you are at in the blast. If you're in the blast area, of course, you have bigger things to worry about than fallout. Fallout means fallout is pretty much the radiation from the blast that travels, and starts polluting different areas after the blast, further away from the blast. So that's what fallout is. So make sure you're inside of a permanent shelter before the fallout arrives. The highest outdoor radiation levels from fallout occur immediately after the fallout arrives and then decrease with time. All right, so I believe that made sense. But the highest outdoor radiation levels, when they're at their highest from the fallout, occur immediately after the fallout arrives. So like I said, you should have a few hours, just estimating, but that's when the highest outdoor radiation levels will occur. When that fallout arrives. So also stay tuned for updated instructions from emergency response officials. So like I said, the emergency broadcasting network is going to be on full blast on everything, TVs, radio, all that. So await instructions from that. And you have a hand crank radio in case your car's radio is not working. You can, and if you happen to be somewhere away from a radio, you should have that hand crank radio in your bag and you can listen, or just listen to instruction from others. So now we're going to look at what to do after the blast. So after the blast, remove your outer layer of contaminated clothing to remove radiation from your body. This is after the blast occurs. And once again, avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Then what you're going to do is find a shower, hopefully if you're by your house or whatever, or hopefully the building you're at has a shower, or just wait till you can get to a shower. But in the meantime, I wouldn't touch, like I said, my eyes, my nose, my mouth, none of that. So then you're going to take a shower or wash with soap. If you don't have a shower, you can wash with soap. That's another thing I forgot. Make sure that you have soap in your fallout bag, soap in a wash rag. That's very important as well. And I have that in mind. I just forgot to mention that earlier. I apologize. So take a shower or wash with soap and water to remove fallout from any skin or hair that was not covered. And then if you have pets with you, clean any pets that were outside after fallout arrived. Only eat packaged food that was inside a building or container that you had on hand. So anything in your fallout bag that you had that's packaged, then only eat that. Don't eat anything from like your neighbor, or like if you see food on the table, all that's bad. Don't eat none of that. Now, we're gonna get to the part of my brothers and sisters incarcerated. So, I hate to say it, but during a nuclear attack, they're probably gonna treat you guys all like shit. You're probably gonna be treated low on a totem pole. Those that have murder offenses or big offenses where they're doing a lot of time. I've seen online where in the case of a fallout that other people have heard that prison guards are just going to be given the order to kill those individuals that have they're in there for murder and stuff like that. So it's going to be a hell of a time if that does happen. Like I said, some may be put to death if they're a level 4, some may be released. And in this situation, it will be every man and woman for themselves. So like I said, my brothers and sisters incarcerated, I pray this never happens. But if it does, fight to survive the best way you can. That's basically all I can say about those that will be locked down during this time. So that's all I got for this, y'all. I know usually I do the hip hop news, but what I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna be making a change to that going forward. Because you know what I realized, everybody's doing hip hop news. Everybody's doing like current events and all that stuff. But what I haven't seen is a lot of underground rappers, singers, musicians getting love on YouTube as they should. So what I'm going to start doing for my next video and going forward, at the end of my videos, I'm going to premiere an underground hip hop song, an underground artist, just somebody that I came across, or somebody that's from my city, from Denver, or and it's not just going to be Denver, it's going to be from everywhere. So now I'm just going to premiere that song. You guys can tell me what you think. And if you like what you hear, then you can go check out that individual and hopefully get their views up, get their plays up, get their music sales up. So that's what I'm going to start doing going forward. Like I said, I'm sorry it took so long, but I hope each and every one of you have a blessed day. And I wish you all long and prosperous lives. I'm sorry. And I pray that each and one of you are, in good spirits. And if you're not, pick your head up and drive on, because it's not over till it's over. All right. Each day is a new chance to be better. And each day is a new chance to, move on from your past. All right. So be blessed, y'all. I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Hip Hop Nutrition.